Hello everyone, welcome back to the course. So today we are going to start working on our login activity design or the login screen design. So to begin with, let's open the login activity XML, double shift login activity underscore login dot XML, and right now we have a button in it. So let's just remove it for now, and what we need is a nested scroll view having width as match parent and height also as match parent, and we also want fill viewport to be true so that this uh, nested scroll view would fill the entire screen, the device screen. After nested scroll view, we also want linear layout. So this will basically be for a progress bar that we will show while there is an operation going on in the background. So we add this linear layout with the width as match parent and height also as match parent. Okay, close it, and we are going to give it an ID of, let's say, progress layout, and we are going to define a background for it as a transparent gray color that we have already defined in our colors. Next up, we will have gravity so that all the elements will be center aligned both horizontally and vertically, and then we define an orientation to be vertical only, and visibility has gone because this is not the thing that we want to appear when the activity first starts or the screen first appears. We would enable or make it visible only when we are performing some operation in the background, and we don't want the user to click on anything while that operation is in progress. So then we add a few constraints like bottom to bottom of parent, then top to top of parent, then start to start of parent, and end to end of parent. So if you are using the minimum SDK uh, level below 17, then you will need to define left and right along with start and end, because that is what was supported earlier. Okay, and within this we also define a progress bar with layout, width and height, width as wrap content and height also as wrap content. Okay, so let's just remove it for a while and see how it displays. So there we have our progress layout where uh, this progress scroll will go on. Okay, let's add it back. Alright, so our progress layout is done. Now let's add the elements that we want on our login screen. So starting off with relative layout with width and height as match parent and match parent. Okay. So the reason we are adding this relative layout inside nested scroll view is that nested scroll view can have only a single child element within it. So that is why all the elements that we want to define on the screen need to appear or need to be part of a layout. So that's why we are adding this relative layout. So next we add is a image view which will have width as match parent and height as wrap content, and we define it as center horizontal true, then certain margins that we are going to define. Margin start as grid 4. So if you remember in last lecture we had defined this grid thing with grid 4 as 16 dp. So those margins are what we will define. Then margin bottom also as grid 4, margin top as grid 4, and margin end as grid 4. Okay, and we also define an ID with ID as image view. Okay, and next up is content description. So let's say there is chat app login screen, and finally give it the source, which will be our title image. So if you see it here is the title image that we have. So I've named it chat app. You can name it anything else that you want, and it appears at the top, slightly at the top and at the center horizontally. Okay. And this value we are going to extract as a resource, so let's name it as login screen content. Alright, okay, then we need a couple of input fields for our email and password as user ID and password. So text input layout with width as 300 dp and height as wrap content. Okay, and this 300 dp we are going to extract a resource as standard width. Okay, let's give it an ID of email TIL. So TIL for text input layout. So email TIL, and this will be below our image view, and it has to be horizontally aligned in center, and we need to have same margins as earlier. So we just copy paste the margins from image view. Okay, and within this text input layout I'm going to add text input edit text, okay, with width as match parent and height as wrap content, and give it an ID of ID as email ET, so ET for edit text. Okay. And we'll give it a hint as let's name it email, and input type we will define as text email address. So this email we can extract a resource, so we can name it int underscore email. Okay, Now on similar line we need a field for password also, so we just copy paste the entire email thing and rename it to password, and instead of below image view we will need it below email dir. Rest is fine, and password et. Alright, and hint would be, so let's create a hint first. So we have hint email here, we just copy it with email underscore hint underscore password and name it password. So this is what we will use, hint underscore password, and this also input type will restrict to text password, right? So next we will need a couple of buttons. So let's add a button with layout width as do we have standard width? Yes. And height as standard height we want, so let's say 50 dp. So similar to standard width, we also define a standard height as 50 dp. Okay, so instead of this we are going to use standard height here, okay, and give it an id of as login button. Okay, then it would be below the password dir, and center horizontal will be true. Then we need these margins again, all four we will copy and paste over here, and on click we can add on click. So this is currently defined in login activity, we will change it in a short while. Okay, on click, then text would be login. Alright, so we extract this also as a string to button underscore login. Okay, now if you see, this button is there but it looks kind of ugly, so we would want a style for this. So let's go to styles.xml and we define a style for our button here. Okay, so a new style as let's name it as standard button. Okay, and within this we are going to add a few items. First will be text color, Android calling text color. This would be white. Next would be item. Oops. Item as text size, and let's define it as 20 sp, or better to define it as dimension. So let's call it standard text size as 20 sp, and let's use it over here. Standard text size. Next item will be the foreground, and the value will be slash question mark attr slash selectable item background. Okay, so this will basically create kind of a wavy effect when a user clicks on the login button. So next up is item background. Now for this we need to create kind of a shape so that the button would be shaped according to that. So in order to do that, let's go to our resources drawable folder and press right click, new, and we have a drawable resource file here. So let's call it standard button rounded. Okay, and we have a selector here, so let's rename it to shape, and let's add shape here as rectangle, and solid color, which will be our accent, color accent, which will be the green color that we have, this one. Then next up would be corners, and it would be Android radius as 5 dp. So let's extract it as standard button radius. Alright, so we have our shape defined over here for our button, and we are going to use this as standard button rounded drawable in our standard buttons. So let's use this style in our activity underscore login, define the style of our button. This will be standard button. Okay, so let's see how it displays now. I think I've made a mistake somewhere. Let's check the style again. So okay, this should be Android column background. Let's check it now. Yep, so now we can see that the button has turned green, and it will have like slightly rounded edges instead of the sharp ones. Cool. So let's add the last element, text view, and it will have wrap content and wrap content. Let's give it an IP of sign up TV as sign up text view. Let's make it this will be below login button, and we'll have center horizontal as true, and margin top will be grid 4, and margin bottom will also be the same. Okay, and we want it to be clickable, so make it like that, and on click it will, for now we are going to go to on click, and for this also we would like to have a style. So let's okay, yeah, so let's go to our styles.xml and we will create a new style. So let's first one be style, and we are going to define the text size in this to what, 20 sp, and we are going to define one more style with name text, and this will inherit the text style that we have already defined, so that the text size is picked from here, and we are going to define text color here as blue. Okay. So we'll have style as link text, and we need to have a text over here. Let's say this will be no account, sign up here, and let's extract it. Okay, so let's see how it shows. There it is, and we would want to make it appear like a hyperlink. So in order to do that, we need to have a underline, and so for that, let's wrap it inside a u tag. Okay, so this will make our button appear as a hyperlink with an underline. Okay, so there is one last thing that we need to take care of, and that is this onClick method. So let's go to this, go to the login activity one, and the current implementation that we have is actually for the sign up button that we have. So let's copy it to this and rename it to on sign up. Okay, so this will be, and rename this to on login. Now for on login, we are not going to go to sign up and just show a message. Okay, this let's just show this message, login attempted, that's it, and make use of these methods. So this will be on login, and this will be on sign up, and that's it. Let's try to run this and see how it works. Okay, so there we have it, our login screen, and let's see. Okay, we have this problem here. So when we are on this text box, we want to scroll the screen because we are not able to see the login button. So let's just change that. Go to the manifest file, and inside our login activity we will add window soft input mode to adjust resize, and let's actually copy it to all the other activities also. Okay, now let's try to run it again. Okay, so okay, yeah, so this time we are able to stall it, right? You can do anything, and let's test the buttons we have. So when you click on login, we have this message. You can do it any number of times, login authenticate, and if I click on this, we are moved to the sign up activity, and then we can move to main screen. Alright, so that's it for this lecture. In the next lecture, we will start implementing the actual login functionality. So see you there.